could totally picture you throwing your back out doing that.
Imagine?
I can't imagine. That's why I said.
Why would you wish
I
that
wouldn't
on
wish
me?
that upon you at all. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games
and
board gamey things.
Exactly, and more specifically today, it is about the Kinfire world.
Universe,
exactly.
Galaxy.
The K-U, Kinfire Universe. TKU, the Kinfire Universe. Now, I will say before we get started, today's video has been sponsored by Incredible Dream, so shout out to Incredible Dream for sponsoring this video. But the purpose of today's video is to kind of walk you through the games that exist in the Kinfire world to help you figure out, hey, what is the best fit for me and my playstyle? Maybe it's all of them. Who knows? But most especially, we do want to say that right now, that Incredible Dream has one of the Kinfire games on Kickstarter, and that is Kinfire Council, which we will get to later in the video. So stay tuned for that.
I knew
I hate your tattoo.
Yeah, you always
your
do.
tattoo.
Oh.
Mufasa, Mufasa, Mufasa.
That was a chill like that.
Jeff, I have a few questions to ask you.
Sure.
Do you enjoy adventure?
Yep.
How do you feel about teamwork?
With you or not with you?
With me.
That's fine.
Okay. How do you feel about fighting baddies?
Are you the baddie?
Nope. I'm on your team, remember?
Right. Yeah, I like it.
Do you like story?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Now that sounds like you. If you enjoy all of those things, well, we have a Kinfire game for you. And that game is going to be Kinfire Chronicles. Jeff, pull that sucker in.
Also, if you want to get big and strong
like me, big and strong, Kinfire Chronicles is the first game in the Kinfire universe, world, galaxy. Okay, and this game is very much so for people who enjoy a good campaign game.
Yep.
Jeff, would you like to tell the people a little bit about Kinfire Chronicles?
Yeah. Kinfire Chronicles is, as Jamie mentioned, a big box campaign game where you are going to playing as characters throughout a bunch of different scenarios. The core mechanisms of this game are deck building and a bit of a bag pulling. Unique element. So just to elaborate a bit on that, you're going to be fighting bosses and going through scenarios. Turn selection is determined by a bag pull. So your characters are going to have a bunch of chits in the bag. The boss or baddies that you battle are also going to have numbered chits in the bag, and those baddies might have different abilities that are going to trigger depending on the number that you pull from the bag. You might be like, well, one player is going to take like 3 turns in a row, but that's not true. Well, it is true, but each player can really synergize with each other because you're allowed to play cards on anyone's turn. You can boost other people's actions. You can even do stuff on the baddies people's turns. So it's really all happening at once. There's not a lot of downtime in this game. But yeah, it's part that, part deck building. There's some asymmetry with all of the characters that exist in this game. Everyone has their own like lantern ability, which is like a one-time use, and then you have to kind of recharge it type thing. But it's like a special ability. Everyone's got their own asymmetrical deck that they're building. It plays similarly to a lot of the campaign-esque games when it comes to the story and, you know, different maps that you're going to be playing out. However, I will mention this is all played in a small play area. A book, which is really, really beneficial because we all know how big of a slog some of these big campaign games can be.
Exactly.
But that's the brass tacks of Kinfire Chronicles.
This is where we are introduced to our characters. Now, there are 6 playable characters in Kinfire Chronicles. The game is for 1 to 4 players, but there are 6 for you to choose from, all of which have their own strengths and weaknesses and synergies with other characters. And you might start seeing these characters again and again and again as we go through some more of these games. But one thing I wanted to mention with Kinfire Chronicles, it is very purposefully a great kind of intro into campaign games, specifically because it kind of walks you through how it all works. And just as with many campaign games that you would play, you're going to kind of do your quest, you're going to go through the scenario, whether you win, you lose, whatever, then you're going to go into town, you're going to do some shopping, you're going to do some upgrading, all of these different things, and then it is going to probably, most definitely, get more and more like complex and maybe a little bit more difficult as the campaign kind of grows and continues, and as you kind of bulk up, and as Jeff mentioned, you're kind of constructing your deck and all of these different things. So this game is definitely for somebody who is looking for that campaign experience where you're not fighting against each other. You're working together. You're helping each other out. And there's just a lot of different kind of fantasy-esque things that are going on in this game.
Yeah, I would say Jamie kind of nailed it. Anyone that's looking for maybe I don't want to say lighter, but like a more like accessible entry into bigger box campaign games, because I think one of the things this game nails is that there doesn't need to be a lot of downtime, which some of those other games can have. You can take a long time in between turns, and maybe you get pulled out of it a bit, but this one's very engaging. Everyone can do things on anyone's turn, and it feels really co-op-y.
Exactly. Yeah. And I want to mention, like, a quest is anywhere between 45 and 60 minutes. So if you're thinking about some of those other, like, big, heavy campaign games that could go, 2 hours plus, like, this is where you want to start if you are looking for a campaign game. And there's a lot of content in here, so it'll keep you entertained for a while.
Agreed.
Okay? Now that is Kinfire Chronicles. This edition specifically is Night's Fall. I do also, let's just show them. Oh my god. I can barely lift this by myself.
I wasn't kidding. If you want to be a big, strong boy like me.
Or girl like me.
This is it.
It's all magnetized. And I'm not going to take it all apart, but there's just so much in here.
One of the best organized boxes I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Jeff, let me ask you a few more questions now. How do you feel about small box games?
Love them.
Right? How do you feel about boss battlers?
I do love a good boss battle.
Do you enjoy a challenge? Yeah. Do you like to play 2 players?
The Meeple kind?
The Meeple kind. Do you like... What was in there? Do you like playing 2-player games?
Yeah, 1, 2.
Exactly, 1, 2. And you know what I enjoy? Playing solo games.
Yeah.
1. So if any of that sounds like you and you're already intrigued by the Kinfire world and the characters and everything, well, guess what? There's a game for you as well, and that game is going to be Kinfire Delve. And now we have 2 different versions of Kinfire Delve. We have Vainglory's Grotto and Scorn's Stockade. There will be another one as well. We don't have that one, so we've only played these ones. We'll only be discussing these ones. Now, here's what I want to say about Kinfire Delve. This is a small box card game where you are playing either solo or cooperatively with a partner, and you have a stack of cards that you are delving into. So the main goal that you are trying to achieve is you are trying to get through this stack of cards.
So well.
Well, exactly. And you're doing that by overcoming different challenges that are laid out on the board. Now, just like in Kinfire Chronicles, you have a hand of cards. You would each have your own deck, your own lantern, which gives you a special ability. See how that carries over into the mystical world? And you are going to be overcoming challenges by playing out cards of the same color. And just like in Kinfire Chronicles, your partner can boost what you're doing. And in a solo game, you could boost yourself.
Yep.
Because Kinfire Delve gives you the keys to be your own boss.
It's true.
Just like Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
It's true. Not sponsored by Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Not a sponsor. Anyways, you are going to be overcoming these challenges, trying to delve down and down into the well deck until you go through it, and then the boss appears.
The boss.
Okay? Now, you're probably wondering what's the difference between these two. These games play the exact same, but the boss is different. The challenges are going to be different. And the players that you are able to play, the Seekers, are going to be different. So each comes with 2. And once again, they are those familiar faces that you see in Kinfire Chronicles.
Question.
Yeah.
Can you play the Seekers from either?
You can. It's all interchangeable, Jeff. That's an excellent question that you just asked. Okay? So this game, like we've already mentioned, great for a solo player, for a 2-player primary, and I will say, and we said it before, this game is challenging.
It is.
You are not meant to win this game every time you play.
Correct.
However, in a solo game in particular, that's really what you need. You need a challenge. Otherwise, if it's too easy, then what's the point? You know what I mean?
I would throw too, if you are like me and you like video games that are roguelikes, similar to Slay the Spire, this gives a somewhat similar feeling to games like that. It's not quite rogue-like, but when I was playing it, it felt similar to games that video games like that I enjoy. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, and it's really about hand management in this game in particular, because one thing that this game has is that you don't get to draw cards as you play them out. And if you ever get to a point, and when I say if, when you get to a point when you need to redraw your hand, you need to then flip an exhaustion card, which is going to do some kind of a bad effect, because it's some of those cards, if you pull a couple of certain ones, you could just die. So you really need to try and manage your hand. So even though you can help somebody else with a boost, you might not want to, because you're going to run out of cards too quickly.
Yeah, and that's kind of the mechanism that reminds me of roguelikes, where it is somewhat random in terms of what order of cards are going to come up and what you're going to see. So sometimes you just get a really bad combination of cards that you're just unable to overcome. It's just going to happen, and you kind of have to restart and do it again and try it again. But there's some mitigation and that sort of thing that you can dive through. But sometimes it's just really, really hard. Yeah.
And just like in Kinfire Chronicles, each character has some kind of asymmetrical ability. Core, as an example, that comes in Vainglory's Grotto, is kind of a supporter that can help like heal you and do all of these different things. So they each have a specific kind of ability that's going to give them some kind of a boost to help you out a little bit.
And just an overarching narrative comment about these games: the artwork is impressive.
And it's fully immersive, because like you go from one game to the other and you're still in that same world. For anybody that is interested, I do have a full solo playthrough of Kinfire Delve on the Board Game Geek YouTube channel. It was a solo mode I did, so if you're curious about how that plays, you can go check it out there.
There is also other content on our channel, our site.
On our site.
On our site.
www.oursite.com/fosterthemeeple.
Don't go to that, because I don't know what that would do.
Me either. That's not actually
our website. But we did do some coverage on the thing. Do we do both?
We did Vainglory's Grotto. We did a preview video for that, and we played Scorn Stockade during the Foster the Gameathon, but that video has disappeared into the ether.
Wow.
That's not part of the world. It just is part of my world, because it happened. All right, Jeff, do you enjoy politics?
Yes.
How do you feel about managing a workforce and putting them onto places to do actions?
Worker placement?
Pretty much exactly
How
like
has
that.
no one come up with that terminology yet?
Who knows? How do you feel about cultists?
Yeah. I like beating cultists.
That's right. How do you feel about building lighthouses and resource management?
I love lighthouses. I do love LAMP.
That's true. Now, if all of that sounds like something that you might be interested in, well, the newest game in the Kinfire world is Kinfire Council, which is currently on Kickstarter. So,
Prototype.
This is a prototype. You want to see something cool? Which way's the front?
Well, I mean,
which way's the back?
One side sideways.
Yeah, but who knows what way's up and what way's down?
That's actually true.
Just like in space, nobody knows. So, like we just mentioned, Kinfire Council is currently on Kickstarter, And we are, believe it or not, still in the Kinfire world. Kinfire Council is, as I mentioned, there's a bit of like political intrigue in this game. So the game is going to play over 5 rounds, and the rounds are each played over 3 phases. Now they have special names that I will put on the screen, but essentially it's like, think of it as morning, afternoon, and evening, okay? So in the first phase, it's basically like an upkeep phase. You are going to be pulling 2 decree cards because it's politics, so we gotta have some voting.
We do need some decrees.
We need some decrees, okay? You're gonna be pulling some
Can't
decree
vote without
cards
decrees.
to be putting out, and you're going to be kind of doing maintenance and putting cultists out onto the board. So you're gonna be pulling cultists from a bag. Those cultists are going to have different numbers that are going to correspond to places on the board where you're going to be putting them out.
They're going to block them.
And they're blocking them because why?
They're ding-dongs.
Yeah, they're super rude. I mean, I've heard it about cultists in my past.
Do you think there's anywhere in the world a good cultist?
So that's what you're doing. Now, the cultists are also going to be triggering out different bad cards.
Yep.
Different things. Maybe a wyvern is going to come out.
Yep.
Maybe a goblin, and they're not doing good stuff. They're causing trouble. And these are different like creatures that you're going to have to overcome. Okay?
Or you don't, and they just do bad stuff.
Or you don't, and they do very bad stuff to you.
They do bad stuff to you.
So that's like, you wake up in the morning and it's a reset. That's basically the morning phase, okay? And then we're going to go into the meat and potatoes, all right? So the main part of this game is worker placement.
Correct.
Everybody is going to start off with their seeker, right? Seekers in this, Seekers in Kinfire Chronicles, Seekers in Kinfire Delve, and they are your familiar faces that you've seen before. So everybody's going to have a Seeker, and they're going to have 5 workers, okay? They are also where everybody's going to start with a counselor that they work with. So you're going to have a Seeker that's actually going to be going out and doing stuff, but then you're going to have a counselor that's going to give you some kind of a special ability, okay?
A bit of asymmetry.
Exactly.
There's a hint of asymmetry here with your Seeker and with your counselor.
And they're all mix and match, okay? So any counselor can be with any Seeker, so every game you might have a different combination. But the main thing that you're doing is you're going to be taking your workers or your Seeker, and you're going to be placing them out in this city on different areas of the board. So the board is broken down basically into 3 layers, and the first layer, free. Second layer, guess what? You gotta pay tax. Third layer, you gotta pay double tax.
Double tax.
Okay? But the actions that you can do get better and better as you go up higher into the city.
We should mention this is a semi-cooperative experience.
There can only be one winner, but you're both obviously trying to like fight the cultists and the baddies and all of that stuff.
And build up the town and build the lighthouses.
Exactly.
But you want to be a little bit better at doing all of those things.
This is like
your partner.
It's like in politics when you're both trying to look like good people.
Yeah, but I want you to look good because it makes me look good, but I want to look a little bit better than you. Exactly.
So you're going to be placing your workers. You're going to go back and forth placing your workers out, doing the action that's on the board, and then you have the option of running an errand. So the errands that you can do is you can do a shipment of supply to the lighthouse because you're building the lighthouse. It's got to get like 10 levels, and you're doing that to score victory points. Or you're going to run an errand to help the town. So different tokens are going to be coming out to help the town. Typically, it's going to be you need to feed people. Otherwise, they get sassy if they don't have food and that kind of stuff. So that's what you're doing. Take an action, do the stuff, run an errand. Rinse, repeat until nobody has workers left. And then we are going to go into the next phase where we're going to be voting on these decrees. Typically, like the decrees are going to come up and they are going to have some kind of either a benefit or maybe even a negative effect, right? So you are going to be voting on those as part of your actions with your influence tokens. And influence is like a difficult resource to come by. But anyways, you're going to be voting on these decrees and passing them and all of these things, and then you're just going to be resolving some stuff. Then we're going to go into a new round. As I already mentioned, pull the decrees. You're going to pull out the cultists. Now, here's the thing. Typically in a game, whoever has the most victory points wins. However, the cultists are also scoring victory points during this game. Okay, not only are they messing with you, like with your worker placement spots and putting out bad creatures and all of these things, they're also going to be scoring points. And at the beginning of the game, 3 of their cards are going to be pulled and set to the side. And then you're going to reveal them at the end. They could score like 30 points at the end of the game.
Good.
So, if you think that the cultists might win,
They've gotten a little bit more powerful than you thought they were going to.
You can take an action to put some of your influence on the cultist side. They're part of the town.
They are. Yep.
Right?
You can support them.
You can support the cultists, and that is an alternate win condition. So, there is a lot going on in this game, and obviously we're not talking about every little bit and piece, but what I will say is that Rahdo has a how to play, a run through, all of these things. I know the brothers Murph are doing a playthrough, so check out lots of content to see if this play style is kind of what works for you, and just keep in mind, this is a prototype.
Yeah, I just want to throw out a couple things. Worker placement with, I guess, like resource amplification.
Yeah,
where
and management,
like,
big time.
You know, resource management where you're trying to like get a bunch of resources to spend to get more powerful resources because those let you kind of maybe put stuff into the lighthouse or help you build the lighthouse, or like maybe you can go to an action and arrest a cultist because the cultists let you, if you have a cultist resource, it lets you do other things. There's a lot of resource manipulation in this game. One thing I thought that was really neat is that your seeker is allowed to go outside of the town. So there's some action selection areas outside of the town that usually revolve around fighting a baddie, as well as going to the lighthouse in order to like drop off supplies. But all of the other workers can only go to the city. But they all can be upgraded with these little upgrade tokens.
Yeah,
so
it's
like
called training your workers.
So not only do you like workers just become a chit that you put out on the board and then you do a thing, you can upgrade those workers and they have a thematic representation of what you've upgraded them to.
Yeah.
So then they have their own ability on top of being able to go to a worker placement spot and doing the action.
They might be a scholar, an artisan, maybe a guard, or a noble, or a merchant, and all of those different like ways that they can be trained is going to give them a special ability. So, as an example, a merchant can go to any level of the city, and they don't have to pay tax, right? Because they're making the city money.
Yep.
Or a noble can go on to someone else's spot, and they're not blocked by that. So there's a lot of different things and reasons why you might want to upgrade your workers to have a bunch of different
abilities. I wanted to flag it because there's a ton of variability in a worker placement game, which I thought was unique. And each worker placement area also has multiple options. So it's not like you go to one area and you can just spam the same thing over and over again. They all have like a couple things, 2 or 3 things that are all increasing in value. There's a lot of decision space in this game for a worker placement game, in my opinion. Yeah, and that just triggers something in my mind. You can also upgrade spaces on the board and be a patron of those. So anytime another player goes to that space, well, then they have to pay you. Yeah, they gotta give you a little something to use the action. And one last kind of like feature that I'll talk about is there's like books in this, and they are just very powerful cards that you can get. And the cultists, you can arrest them and then use them as a resource, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, I just said that. Oh, did you? Yeah. Oh, that's okay, though. Well, you can do that. He said it, and I said it. You can do it. Either of us can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Why not? Yeah. So, if that sound, I will say I do think this is the heaviest of the 3 games that they have put out so far, I would say. However, it's not an overly complicated game. You mean in terms of, like, getting to the learning it, playing it. For sure. Yeah, in terms of like board game weight, not physical weight. That one goes to Kinfire Chronicles for sure. Very heavy. But so if you've kind of tried Kinfire Chronicles and then you've gone into Delve and you're like, what next? Well, Kinfire Council could be a great option for you. Links and everything are going to be in the description below. Indeed. There you have it. We've gone over the Kinfire world. There is an entire like lore and their story, and the characters have backgrounds and they have relationships, and there's so much that goes into this world that I definitely encourage you to look some of it up if you're not sure, because I do think that once you kind of like dig into it a little and get to know the characters, you're going to be more intrigued to look at what the other games are offering. Okay, it's a very immersive world, and I suggest doing some reading about it. It's really, really, really cool. Yeah, for sure. Now,
that is the Kinfire world, friends. We are going to have links for everything in the description below if you'd like to go check it out. I'll put, like I said, a link to some playthroughs and overviews and all of that stuff that people have done, so you can do your research and make informed decisions. Informed decisions.
Yes, indeed.
Right? You know what I mean, jelly beans? But that is everything that we have for you today. Now, if you're interested in buying board games like some of the Kinfire world games, but Kinfire Council is on Kickstarter, don't forget, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. And for us, that is
the Boardroom Game Cafe.
Yes, it is. Do you like snacks?
I do.
Where people get snacks?
Munch Pack.
That's correct. And if you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. And now we say goodbye. Goodbye.
Later days.
For height.
It still is crooked. Like I don't know how to describe it to you. Like look at this corner.
Yeah.
And then look at where you are.
That's the floor. That's just the floor. I could tilt it. I had
tilt it.
I had to hiccup. Almost rolled. Oh, it's very crooked.
My back is really sore.
I don't know how to help you. I thought the massage cured you. Your legs have never felt better. So I forgot to pull up the other one.
That's what I'm basing it off of.
Full on.
Yeah, but the other, that's one game. Just a different variant.
Incredible dream. So shout out to...
You smell that burning? Ton of, I can't remember the word. What's the word I'm looking for?
Support?
Where you play like at the same time.
Boost. Co-op.
No, there's a word for
Teamwork.
it. No, there's a word for it.
Synergy. So let's just watch this. The channel. Big strong girl like me. You know what, Jeff?
I think it's fine though. Yeah,
I think it's fine. I think it's just peachy keen, lemon squeezy. Okay? Understood?
That's not a phrase.
Just pull that stuff off.
Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.